Hi guys, so today I'm at the Nissan Design Europe Center here in Paddington, celebrating its 20th anniversary, hence the 20 that you see here. And we're going to be going through some of the processes that are involved in designing cars, and we're also going to be listening to some of the key players at Nissan who basically are shaping the Nissans of today and tomorrow. This is going to be exciting.
A brown car guy. Brown car guy.
The real history of NDE is we first came here 20 years ago, so this is our 20th birthday. We're in this magnificent building. It's called the Rotunda. It was designed in 1968 by an architect called Paul Hamilton, and it has a very brutalistic, unusual architecture, and it's actually a listed building as its sort of architectural significance within the country. So it's a great environment for us to be creative in. Not only that, it's in a great location, being in the centre of London. NDE, of course, is a building and a name, but we're made up of people, and it's our most valuable asset.
The team I would describe as one of the most creative teams I've worked in. The freedom, I would say it's the biggest quality that we can have in our studio. It's the fact that we can work on production, but the concept phase allows us to go very far. Also, the fact that we're working and living in London, we have the access to all the cultural lifestyle that we can find in this city, and we can enjoy ourselves.
Being in London, it does get under your skin, and it subconsciously has fed the output that we've generated since we've been here.
So since we started, our design process has changed almost unimaginably. Going back 20 years or more, we used to hand draw. Not only that, we'd put the drawings in a tube and send them to our colleagues in Japan and receive tubes back.
Well, nowadays we use a lot of digital tools. We're still having contact with sketching, but that's for the very, very advanced phase. Then we jump immediately to digital.
We have facilities that we can do every function of design. We can do clay modelling, we can do CAD modelling, we can make prototypes. We have the full suite that a headquarters studio would have. What we have at Nissan, and we all enjoy, is we have a spirit of freedom. We're asked to explore, and when we look back, I think it can really reflect on the products that we produce. Our back catalogue of designs at NDE is quite rich. From the very beginning, we launched a show car in Geneva in 2004, which was the Qashqai concept. It was obviously a very pivotal car for us because it was the start of our journey with Qashqai and was our first project in this building. That, of course, led on to the production one in 2007, which, of course, has set the benchmark in terms of C-segment crossover. As well as our mainstream products, the team here, they look at a lot of advanced studies, which also lead on to concept vehicles. And even around electrification, if we look back, the studio worked on MV200, which later went on to be an all-electric commercial vehicle. So we worked on the concept of that, down to the Aria concept and Aria single-seater. The 2023 concept. It's a celebration. It's a present from us to celebrate our 20th birthday.
Brown car guy.
Yeah, welcome to NDE. Welcome to our home. It's been our home for 20 years. We're just catching our breath because to put a car on a boat and send it down the river is not normal. So there's been lots of things going on behind the scenes, but it's really good to have you here. I think straight away I should introduce my boss. So this is Alfonso.
Hi. I hope you enjoyed the sun was good to us today, and we're very lucky. I mean, I've known Matt for almost 20 years. He's a bit inseparable from my understanding of NDE because he's the author of the first show car that became Qashqai, and then he's the author of the Juke, the first Juke. So the sense of inventiveness, the sense of out of the box, even though, as you can see, this environment is very closed actually. You don't have a sense of London when you're inside the building, but the creative energy that is in here is spectacular. The car that you saw today, where a fairly young Italian kid naturally, organically making his dream car, and it reminds me of cars that were part of the reason I wanted to be a Nissan designer 35 years ago. It has a little bit of the charm of BE1, a little bit of the charm of certain Figaro and some Thai cars, but at the same time it's completely him. And that's the beauty of NDE, where the sense of the individual is respected by the manager, and allows us as a company to change because of the work that comes from here. So it's been wonderful to see NDE grow and prosper. Although it's not a bank, so it didn't prosper. Just grow.
Just grow. So actually in this very room, you can see the IMQ clay model here to the right. There's actually another plate just under the carpet here, so we're not normally with carpet here. And on these two plates, every Qashqai and every Juke has been designed from concept through to production. So we're quite a small team here, we're 50, 60 employees. And just within the building, we could do prototype, we could do production, we could do show cars, all kinds of things. But we're actually sat really in the epicenter of where we invent our cars. And as Alfonso was saying, the 2023 concept you've just seen upstairs, this was kind of a junction of two worlds. One was the kind of more Neolithic, older designer. Us older guys were kind of drawn to this project the young guys had started because we could recognize things from the past, hot hatches. A lot of the guys here have worked on GTRs and Zs and other things, so we kind of obviously drawn to that thing. But on the other axis, we had the young guys who are into gaming. They're fully queued up on electrification and what that should look like for the next generation. So the car upstairs is really the crossroads of the Neanderthal and the Sapien coming together. So we're very excited about it, and it was great to watch that car grow.
One thing that I failed to mention is also it's our engineering center's birthday, 35 years up the road. NDE is in a very interesting position. We're not in the engineering building. It's about 2 hours, if my memory serves me well. We go up there all the time. We collaborate on everything that you see here. But also the plant in Sunderland is relatively close, and the relationship that Matt and the team have with the plant, and it's dreamed here, it's sketched here, it's clay modeled here, and then it's stamped and assembled down the road. It's quite unusual to have all of that ecosystem very close. Product planning is in Paris. It used to be Switzerland, but as far as the team, it's not just NDE. In the community, we have very close friends up the street helping us.
Yeah. And we're 15 plus nationalities, so I think, again, London provides that. We're an international city, which I'm very happy about, not a national city. So still, as the recent years have gone by, we're still super international, and that's very important to us because different inputs mean different outputs. And obviously, Alfonso and the team are in Japan, and they rely on our kind of unique perspective from the whole of Europe to be channeled over to you guys.
So one of the things that I'm a bit of a defender of in global design is that Nissan, of course, is a Japanese car company. And around the late 60s and the 70s, they were helped dramatically by the petroleum crisis back then, a long time ago. But they felt that they didn't have, the cars that we were designing in Nissan back then were not resonating with the love people have with the automobile. And so they were among the first car companies to start opening up satellite studios. So every car company has studios all over the place now, but it wasn't like that before. And then on top of that, the respect for the overseas studio. So they're not simply executing a vision from headquarters. They like design. Qashqai and Juke changed Nissan. That came from here. The mothership changed because of the output of a relatively small group of people with just a love of design and a love of culture. So I am very proud about that, about the company, is how we allow ourselves to change from the region. So, probably been long, so. I think I got something.
So we also just put this slide up. We talk a lot about crossovers. It's kind of our daily work. But we also love, like we're car guys as well, and what that means in the future. But you can see we've worked on GTR 50. We were very closely with Alfonso and Intel design on that. Obviously a super high-end car, hand-built, limited. We did projects with Infinity Black Airs with the Renault F1 team, and even just 2 years ago, a year and a half, we did the Aria single-seater. So there's still quite a strong pulse of automotive desire running through the veins of our design team.
The Italian GTR was an interesting project because it's handmade. Half of it is handmade in aluminum. The other is molded in carbon fiber. And it's done in such a short time compared to our normal life, where we take a year and a half to make something, data relationship with engineering over and over and over. This is very much it's not an old school thing, but it's back to the roots of making a car. And to see our team adjust and really follow the manufacturing of this 1 million euro plus Italian GTR, it was great to see them. So they're quite flexible here, and it's much appreciated.
Why not? I think I'll run the video for 2023. You've seen the car. You'll see it kind of running in a virtual world, but also we did an interior of the car, which is quite a spectacle to see. So hopefully I'll play
This.
drama.
Yeah, hopefully you like it. We're very proud of it. I think what I like is it's got so much character. It's not just a kind of angry looking thing. You could look at that car and you see many different aspects.
And even inside, it's super high performance, the seats and the in-control feeling, but also like this image that you're seeing right now. Early sketches, of course we're making real things, three-dimensional things, but our life and our conversations start from drawings. And the decisions that the designers make is just so impressive. So the designer was playing with this kind of X-ray feeling, like this, you can see through this sketch. It's not a solid thing. And I think we fell in love right away. We almost fell in love with the feeling before we knew what the shape itself was for the interior. But I think it was a love well placed for this interior.
Yeah. Good. I think normally that's where Neil, which is his phone over there, would ask if there's any Q&A.
Questions. Come on, don't be shy, someone.
Thank you. Thanks. You mentioned earlier about the cross, or the intersection. What did you call it? Neanderthal and
And the sapien,
and the sapien, that's right. But it's very interesting because we are transitioning to this new era, and we have these EVs, which of course are built in a very different way. And you can see the history of Nissan in that concept. But doesn't EV lend itself to completely radical new design? I mean, the interior is quite radical, but externally, if you see what I mean, we still have the 3-box, 2-box design. Do we need that?
Depends on which era. So right now, the way the volumes are, especially on something that's this short, in a sense, you still have your EV motor that's placed between the front wheels. So I think the promise of the in-wheel motor maybe is where your question is leading us to, where those volumes, traditional volumes, go away because inside the tire wheels themselves. So that you would then have the magic carpet of the battery and then nothing else other than driving by wire or stuff like that. But but the kids are doing this by themselves. The project was set up as anything you want. So it is an interesting time where
Is it redolent of what you're used to? Therefore you're drawing it? Or is there an opportunity here to just really push the boundaries further?
So there is. It's a really interesting question because have you heard of Maya? Most acceptable, most advanced yet acceptable. That's a conversation we have sort of externally within the company where we have different products, but actually internally. And those two axes, I guess the Neanderthal was lamenting about things that it recognized. And the young guys were then, if you look at the car, the air flowing and channeling is actually eating into all the sort of bodywork. But you're right, our homework, and our quite serious homework, is what's the next one, and what will be acceptable to the customer.
Thank you.
What are the chances to see this car in the streets in a few years?
Are there chances? You never know. We have the boss here. Right now, Matt wanted to celebrate the birthday and really turn the day over to our young designers. And this is a reflection of that. But that's how things happen in the company, where the bosses see something, they see the energy behind it. Definitely, I think what you're going to be seeing a bit is the way we're expressing our portfolio currently is not covering some of this charming aspect of the pipe car era that I think both Matt and I really feel like we should start bringing that into the portfolio. So some aspects of charm, approachability, this sense of optimism But with these intersections, whatever they may be, I think so.
I think as a range of vehicles, that's why I love Nissan. Is our family is quite unusual. We have huge SUVs for radio, we have K cars or GTRs, these kind of things. But I think, as Alfonso was saying, the character side, so actually amplifying each character even more is also homework. And some of these elements, I think, will be very well served on. I mean, it's taking a very different slant on motorsport for a start. We expect a certain aesthetic, an aggressive aesthetic for motorsport. This kind of re-augments that side. And also a little bit more acceptable as well, as we have to watch how these cars are presented.
I was just wondering if you had any idea on what plant was made this car. If it's Sunderland, is it available on the Street?
Why do you ask such a difficult question? I don't think any part of that question can be addressed by
That's not in the briefing book. No.
We've got the first customer though. Do you remember we did the micro? I don't know how long we've been up in Sunderland, judging by your voice, that's right.
Yeah.
We did the V6 micro K12, it was in Sunderland. We can loan you the model if it helps.
Oh, wow.
There's a question here.
Nissan Figaro has been mentioned quite a few times today. Is there a hint that there might be some new design given to Figaro?
I apologize to Neil for that constant reference. It's back to my point, I'm missing this. I think that we're doing some very cool cars globally, and somehow we've neglected this, one of our super strong pillars that we, when I first joined Nissan 35 years ago, I'm a bit older than my companion, I went to Japan on my first trip, 1988, and I walked into the studio, young kid, I was 23 or something like that, and I see this clay model, much like that, but it's the smoothest, no character line car, sports, clearly a sports car. It was the clay model of the 300 series. Super clean car, the headlamp, super high tech. It was like nothing on the road. I was shocked. And then I opened the door, and the next room was the clay model of the Figaro. Clay model. In the world, there was no retro cars, basically, at that time. All the chrome bits were clay. And this was, for me, the highest point of Nissan design. That you can, in one brand, do those two cars. And there was a GTR, by the way, down the hall. I think that's why both Matt and myself, when we are brainstorming of what kind of car we would do, it's really quite endless, and I think we have the shared belief that we've neglected a few themes. So I'm using Figaro figuratively.
Really easy question.
You mentioned earlier about the charging time that has cut it down by a third of the time of a normal charge from the electric cars that are coming in the EV side now. So do you know roughly estimated time that the charging time would be on this new vehicle?
When did you say that the charging time was going to be? You did that media training?
Watching in action now.
Okay, let's see.
The car has no technical specification, but the conversations were about how do you charge mid-race, for example, or something like that. It's in line with some of the battery information we're hearing from Dave Moss and those guys. no specific figures, but I tend to feel with these cars, when you look at them, you can kind of guess the power, the torque they'd have, how efficient they'd be in charging. But now it's just a design concept.
What's the range? What range are we talking?
For this design concept.
Neil?
Pick it up. I mean, it's a design concept. So it's, I mean, the CEO was talking about some of the potential of solid state battery technology, which is kind of in development. It's a few years away, but that will revolutionise both the speed of charging, plus the performance, plus the range. But at the moment, it's too far out to start putting figures on it. Really.
We should try and get it in PlayStation. Then you'd be able to see real time how much range it will have on its track.
The car itself, the concept, is very sharp, edged, as you mentioned, launched. Why is it not more futuristically rounded? To me, the car looks like it's from the future. Is that not more of a remarkable vehicle in modern times?
The car, it's designed to be quite aerodynamically efficient. So actually, we've got a short car. The general rules are the rounder the shapes, the longer the car needs to be, so the teardrop effect. So we have this ball of muscle sort of squeezed up. So where we tried to give the characters on the top parts around the face and the rear end, and the body side are actually quite round. The sharpness is all the functional parts. So there's kind of two forms of play, the lower part, the technical part. And we've tried to give the character to the top part. But we've also tried to make it quite compact. So the idea is the car will be raced on track, but it could go to an urban environment, that kind of thing. So the idea is that it kind of keeps it quite compact, technical.
There's we're seeing a little bit in our design teams, not only here, but globally. The EVs and aerodynamics is such a huge tool in our life now. We're really chasing these perfect curves to deliver really aerodynamic numbers that we would never have dreamed 5 years ago or something like that. And so as, our designers are we're technical people, but we're also some kind of artistic people. And part of the artistry is rebellion. And I think that what you're seeing in this car is a little bit anti-good boy. It's kind of rough. It's a bit genius if you get to seeing the details of how the wind is going through. It still has that technical instinct of the design, but what I see is a kind of character rebellion. And when you have a portfolio of EVs, they don't all have to be, ultimate in range. Some people are going to be buying things for purely emotional. I just want this. Okay, it only goes X amount. I'm not going to fall into the range. And so I do think that that's going to exist in the portfolio, where you can play a little bit. Some cars go tremendously long range, and some are sacrificing for a reason.
Brown car guy.
Ooh, check this out. This is kind of, they call it clay, but it's actually kind of like a plasticine. See here, you can actually mold it and stuff. They heat it up so they can mold it. Anyway, it's been fascinating today because we've looked at all the process that goes into designing cars, including this clay model. Can you believe that actually they chucked that away? I always thought they kept the clay models. No, actually, because underneath there's an expensive chassis, and so what they do is they strip all this off and then they use it for the next one. Wow, that's extraordinary. One of many things that I've learned today, including like the sketching process to the digital process, the digitization process, the 3D process, getting to that, and then what comes after that. So it's absolutely been fascinating to see the amount of effort that goes into developing something like the new 2023 that has literally been revealed also at this event. event today. But the extraordinary thing about this is just how much effort and experience and knowledge and skill sets go into these sort of things. I was just talking to the guys that worked on there, 2 different generations, some young guys that have come up through automotive design courses, and some more senior guys who basically have come through apprenticeships and have come through different areas, actually, modeling and working in the aerospace industry, and then ended up doing that. So it's quite extraordinary to get this incredible insight into what goes on at this surprisingly centrally located Nissan Europe Design Center. It's been a real privilege to have a look around, and I hope you've enjoyed this video too, and I'll catch you all in the next one.
Brown car guy.
Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please hit the like button and share this video as well if you can. And while you're at it, check out these guys who also sponsor my content. I am deeply grateful to them because it helps me to buy new equipment, put fuel in the cars, and yes, buy a cup of coffee. You can do the same. Just go here or right here on YouTube. Just hit these 3 little dots down here and click on thanks. Make sure you're signed in first. My content is free, but this is how you can help me keep it that way. I may even send you a gift. Oh, by the way, watch this next.